Next up is the always friendly and very agreeable best looking category. Fuck me. Previous winners in this category, it's the funniest winner of all time in any category. 2015, The Order 1886.
You say that, I generally think Overwatch being on here is funnier.
Yeah, I mean, like that is, we say it every year. The one thing we could always say about The Order 1886, and we said it the year it won, it fucking looked amazing.
Good looking, it's still a good looking game.
It looks better than most games
for
now.
the 7 minutes that game lasted, it looked real good.
You know
it would hang on this year's list. It looked that good.
And do you know what I say every year? I'm going to play that thing this year.
You're not. Well, it won't take you that long. The only thing is, it won't take you that long.
No,
it's like
it's
6 hours.
But I also think it's still like 40 or 50 quid on the PlayStation
I would not be
store,
surprised. I think it's been on PS Plus a couple of times.
Well, I don't have it. So.
Anyway, that's 2015. 2016, joint winners, the year of draws before the poll.
We shouldn't have let that happen. Someone should have just been polite and like
Hyper Light Drifter win.
Hyper Light Drifter is definitely better looking than Overwatch.
Not a year of good looking games, I don't think.
Overwatch and Hyper Light Drifter 2016. 2017, absolutely Cuphead. Slam Dunk. Yep. 2018, Slam Dunk. Dragonball FighterZ.
Yeah.
Fucking rocks.
2019, Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Also rocks.
2020, Ghost of Tsushima.
Good looking game.
2021, Resident Evil Village.
So much.
And 2022, Elden Ring.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we could have done better.
I can't remember what was nominated last year.
We looked it up last night when we were having dinner. I can't remember now. I've forgotten it.
But it certainly was video.
We did the token Gran Turismo nomination last year. That was on the list. Yeah.
The thing that sucks about that is like no one cares about Gran Turismo, but it probably was the best.
I think it's like the thing, as well, like because we easily like depending on how we look at it, like if someone had put Forza Motorsport on it this year, it's like, well, that probably wins in a way.
Like there's some guys sat there like, this is the greatest looking game ever. I'm at the absolute top of my profession, and we're like, nah, I'm
not even top 10.
Who cares?
Okay, so our nominees for 2023: Alan Wake 2, Dordogne, El Paso Elsewhere, Hi-Fi Rush, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, Lil Gator Game, Pizza Tower, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Super Mario Wonder.
So many styles here.
Good looking games.
We are returning to the wheel by Objective Observer. You
independent adjudicator. It's Barry Murphy of Limerick today.
You're fucking kidding me.
He's done it again.
I've done it again. I'm happy to roll again.
No, go on.
Okay.
It all looked on the up and up to me.
Just paid him off beforehand.
Okay, it's me.
I absolutely take bribes for this.
Right, so this is a category where I don't think you can go in any direction without upsetting somebody. Yep. I'm going to maybe go first for a game that I think I really like. I think in some ways it's one of the best looking games of the year, but there's one particular thing about where I'm like, oh, it's a bit rough. And I guess it's me and Mark are the only ones that can talk about this one, and it's Dordogne. Where,
whoa,
because no. What I'm going to say about it might not go now.
That is like the fucking best looking game on the list.
I haven't played this game.
I'm staying out of this one. Hold on, because I love I think like in terms of the environments and the watercolor nature and stuff like that, but I don't like 3D models of your character at all.
I think they look.
I don't think it looks good. I don't think it looks good at all. I think it looks really discordant with the overall theme of the game. I think it breaks that thing to me. I don't like it one bit. I like everything else about the game. I love the environments. I love the objects. I love.
This is the watercolor game, right?
Yeah. Even the design of like your kind of like your text and things like that. I love all of it. But if I were to pick of the games I put it on the list. So I'm trying to go for something. I'm trying to go for something first, not just to like, because everyone loves occasionally doing the cop out of I didn't play it, so I'm going for this, right? Because I could have done that and gone Lil Gator Game first, for example, right? Because I haven't played it. I have no dog in the race. But I wanted to start off tough because this is a tough category.
I think Dordogne is a top 3.
I think Dordogne should be in the conversation at all the ends. It's in terms of like if you look at all the other games on here, they do all very specific things. But I have never seen a game of Dordogne.
Look, I want to ask you, Dave. So just to clarify here, are you talking about like just the 3D models themselves, or when the game kind of like you because for the first kind of part of the game or so, you're thinking that, all right, this is like a 2D watercolor thing. And then there's a moment where it shifts to the first time where you realize, wait, no, this is a 3D watercolor looking game.
Yeah, it's mainly the first thing where I think
Just
like I'm enjoying like going through a watercolor, but I feel like it's just like I said, it's a little bit discordant in an unpleasant way. You're kind of not like I don't want to say it's a badly rendered 3D character moving through that space, but it just feels like you stick out like a sore thumb in not a good way wandering through there. I don't know what the solution to that problem is in a technical way. I'm not saying I will proffer you a way you could have made the game better with the character modeling and things like that. I just thought I am enjoying 80 to 90% of this design, and there's your character right in the middle, and I'm just like, that's a bit fucking ugly, if I'm honest.
Even with that, I think that 80 to 90% of that game still looks like...
It looks pretty cool.
It looks pretty great, but again, you're talking, like, again, this is a list of, there's nothing on this game that doesn't look incredible. There's a game on this which I like, so I like Dordogne a bunch, but I've mentioned my reservations with it now. There's a game on here that in terms of playing it, I like a lot less, but I would vote for a lot higher.
For the look.
That's going for a very specific look, and I don't think Dordogne hangs with that at all.
This is an insane category. There is no pick that we're not one of us is going to go, what?
So
Yeah,
like,
I don't think
I did because I think like
that's what Barry was saying.
yeah.
No, I'm saying
There's about 4 or 5 on here. If they'd gone first, I'd be like, okay, it's a really good looking game, but sure.
But unless you're talking 8 or 9 could go first, then like we might as well just get rid of it.
It seems like the last.
Because we're not doing an ordered list.
If this one, I would be totally okay with that.
No, but what
I'd be okay with like anything on this, honestly.
I only know there's one. I also like the fact that we're on the first pick and we're fine. Great. But what we typically tend to do
Strap in, everyone.
Something might not win, but if we think it's like a top 3 contender,
We like to keep it.
we tend to keep it because we think that like, hey, maybe we can like...
It seems like Dordogne is staying.
Yeah, okay.
Have another punt, Dave. Go on, pick another child.
Okay.
So cool.
Okay,
man.
Tears of the Kingdom.
That was going to be
that's
mine.
my first pick.
I think it looks incredible.
The Switch is in this weird place where
It's really old.
Where but let me tell you, when something like Pokemon comes out and it runs like absolute garbage, we play with the kid gloves and say, well, it's the Switch and blah blah blah, and then Tears of the Kingdom comes out, which looks really good and performs better than Breath of the Wild, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also, I similarly also think it gets the kid gloves a little bit where it's held up as I didn't think this is one of the best looking games of the year. I don't think.
I thought it was great, but I'm not gonna fight for it as hard.
No,
I think top 10 is fair. Yeah.
The thing with like both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and this goes for like a lot of Nintendo games, is that they're just very smart with art direction. And they're very smart about like using those limitations to the maximum to get like the best out of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm sure if fucking like Zelda was on the PlayStation 5, it would have its ray tracing and it'd have fucking this and that or whatever.
Excuse me.
And I don't think it would actually make the game look visually
much better now.
Better, but it wouldn't really...
Not night and day better.
Yeah. So I think that, Tears of the Kingdom, it's a continuation of like a very specific art. And Zelda games, going back to like Wind Waker, like every iteration of it, you can see there's a very specific art direction they go for. They don't always successfully land, looks like Skyward Sword. But with Breath of the Wild, the first time you saw that, it's like, all right, that's just a Studio Ghibli film, but now it's a Zelda game. Cool, I'm all here for it. Tears of the Kingdom is a continuation of that. I think there are certain things like, I think the way that the gloom animates and looks particularly has that kind of ethereal, menacing kind of
in terms of and in terms of in terms of the look of the game as well, like the realization of its world is part of that, and just being able to like continuously, you can move from one of like up in the sky all the way through the surface world into a pit down into the gloom in one continuous action.
Honestly, that probably should have been a moment of the game.
And it's one of those things where, like, the way you're talking about the like the kid loves with Nintendo's, like the perspective I've had in Tears of the Kingdom is like, how did they do that?
Yeah.
I don't know how they pulled Breath of the Wild out on that thing at the time, let alone pulling off something the scale and ambition of Tears of the Kingdom in a way that performs better than Breath of the Wild on a now 6-year-old console.
I don't know if you heard, Dave, but Nintendo, pretty good at video games.
Pretty good. They know their systems, don't they?
Like the difference, like the Sky Islands feel different to the Overworld. In the Overworld, there's like 4 or 5 different regions that will feel different when you're in them. You can identify them. And then like, the gloom and the darkness of what lies below the surface all look really, really cool. Like there's that whole bit where there's like lava and like lava waterfalls coming around it, and you have to wear the heat suit, and everything just feels radiant and like bacon. It's the visual style of this game I think is excellent. Again, this is a tough category.
And also something as well, which I don't think it gets mentioned with over these games just because of how much else is going on. I really like the UI in this game. I think it has a really simple but intuitive UI system. Because I really like. Yeah.
Wait, I hate the UI.
Did you tweak it to be the simplified UI? Because there is.
I don't even know where that setting is.
Yeah. So he must have the version of the UI with all the shit still on.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, there is a like a pared down where it's literally just the map and the hearts. Isn't that pretty much? Isn't that it? That's there. Yeah. Like that's all that's left on it, and it's really small in the corner.
I mean, this is. I don't even know if this really relates to best look. I suppose it kind of does. I in general, this is true of Breath of the Wild. I hate the menus, and I just hate the.
I think that all counts. I remember one year we were talking about the Forza and how it's probably the best looking game, but like the UI navigation
is completely insane.
It's all over.
So I think that counts.
But anyway, that's a minor thing.
The wording of on our sheet, the way we have best looking is any element of visual presentation.
Yeah, that's why I like this category, because it's literally just best looking. It's like whatever way you interpret that, which I love.
Yeah. There's a reason you didn't put speaking of menus, you didn't put Baldur's Gate on here.
A lot of menus in that game.
So many fucking menus, man. Right, Marco.
I put it on. It's not winning. I think Lil Gator Game has a lot. Look, that fucking Little Gator and the way that it flops its arms around when it's in an idle emotion.
Lots of hats.
Lots of hats. Sliding along on his little shield. Like all
I love the little crepe paper constructions and the cardboard things are all really well done.
Yeah. It like everything about that game and UI included is there to fit a specific theme, and it is 100% nailed. But it's not the best looking game of the year. So
fair.
But props to that game, because that was like an early game from I think it might have even been like
that was December.
Yeah,
it was.
But that thing stayed with me for the year in terms of when I thought about like what are the games I enjoyed the most this year and games I enjoyed looking at the most. Little Gator Game was always kind of top of the list for me. So yeah.
Yeah.
And yet you've still knifed that fucking gator.
Yeah. Fuck that
thing. I mean,
I went for dinner.
I can see that there's
like a big old gator bigot.
Yeah.
You're more of a croc man. You always have been.
Yeah. Hate some gators.
Jack.
Yeah, it's tough now, isn't it? Already.
Because it was so fucking easy when I did it.
You should have picked something else. I guess.
Should I? Yeah. Thanks for proving my point.
God his ass.
And that's why I'm picking Alan Wake. No, just kidding. El Paso Elsewhere is probably the least visually striking of the ones that are left on the list.
I
had I can't remember. I think it was in our group chat where I'm like, if you're talking about elements of visual presentation, right? It's not, if we were doing the Forza Gran Turismo, this is absolutely bottom of the list.
No, but there's a very specific reason.
But what it is this is the most precision strike. We are going for a look.
Style parody.
It pulls off, and I'm not trying to do the Dordogne thing again, but based on what you've written on the design doc for, we want this game to look like none of these 10 hit the mark more accurately than El Paso.
I would maybe disagree.
I disagree. So here's the thing.
There's one on that.
I'm not saying that is the best.
No, because the problem is that like in terms of like fitting a theme and a style and a tone, it certainly gets there.
Yeah.
But I also think one of the problems with the game, and I mentioned this within the last couple of weeks, is that you can clearly tell this is a very small team that worked on that. Because certainly within like the first, 10 levels or so, you're like, I'm just doing the same level, but they've just kind of rearranged parts of the environment. And it's like, all right, this looked really cool for like the first 3 or 4 levels, but I'm just looking at the same fucking thing again. I've been looking at the same fucking enemy for like the last half an hour. You need to mix it up for me. And I'm sure it does. I haven't played enough of it to know exactly how.
Yeah.
I think it runs into the issue of like a lot of kind of reusing of assets, which, hey, someone who's making a game, that's not the worst thing to do.
Yeah.
But I do think
it also falls into the trap of like how much of it is small team and how much is like they're going for the thing where that was the thing.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like
still,
it's a thing where you can hide a lot of that.
I don't even think like Max Payne runs it. I haven't played Max Payne in forever, but I feel like every level of that game looks at least distinguished enough from like you play the first like 10 levels of this and it's all in like a hotel lobby.
But also I want to defend it a little bit though and say like levels in this game are really short, so 10 levels is like half an hour of playing the game. Like,
I still was playing for a good kind of 2-3 hours, and I was still like,
get good. What are you doing? Walked into that one like, God, is that?
Maybe that's just me.
One thing I will say about it, I think I said this to you guys already, is that I don't think it's literally doing this, but it has that, you know, when you see someone do like a ray tracing mod on like Quake.
Yeah.
And it looks sick as fuck. It's like the coolest ray tracing stuff is all on old games. This game kind of has that thing where it's got that PS2 aesthetic, but the lighting is insane. Yeah. Like all those red and green and purple lights all over the environment are so great. With all that said, it probably can go because I don't think it's winning. And actually, I think it changes up the environments quite a lot. You are looking at kind of the same enemies the whole way kind of through, and I think in this cutthroat category, it's not gonna stay.
Because I look at the other ones and I think there's originality, or there's like insane technical prowess, or like there's just insane style left, and this feels like a style parody rather than like a style
or pastiche,
a style tribute to a certain era. And it's like a bit like last year. What was the game? The PS1 Signalis. Yeah, like which would look really cool again, but it's like it's a parody. It's a style. It's something that we've seen before redone.
But this
to win that, it has to fucking do that.
If you're saying we need to vote off now because if it wins, Mark will just be inconsolable over Signalis.
Anything that is aping the PS2 era specifically is probably going to struggle the most to win this category, because at least with like the PS1,
it's manufactured ugliness.
Well, yeah, because like the PS1 is like, it's so early in that 3D life cycle that it's got a particular, like you look at it, you're like, that's a PS1 game. But with that PS2 era, it's like, it's the early enough kind of like of the what we now consider like modern games, that it just it's very, very difficult for that to ever win a category like this.
I also think, like, I kind of said it there a minute ago, but like the more I think about it the more is like, if you have a small team, it's fucking genius to go for that as an aesthetic, because it can hide so many things that limit you as a small team to go for something like that. But it can go.
The jank is planned, jank.
Right, Barry.
Oh God, it's literally like picking which fight do I want to have.
I know which one you want to have.
I don't think you do.
I thought I did.
I honestly don't know which one of these I want to go for, because there's one jumping out at me, and I feel like there's going to be protests, but you will eventually come to terms.
Okay, I do know what he's going to say.
Come, Barry, let's do it.
It's Mario Wonder.
Yeah.
One thing I will say about Mario Wonder is that when it came out, it got a lot of plaudits for going back to the drawing board on the aesthetics and the music, which I think is absolutely there, and the gameplay, obviously, which is phenomenal. And I do appreciate that they went back and they redid all their audio and they redid a lot of their visual elements. And I'm certainly not saying they're bad, but I don't think it looks or sounds that good. Like as good as the best Mario stuff.
I think it looks great. I think the stuff like the Wonder Seed stuff, they're all so well thought out, and it feels handcrafted in a way that a lot of games don't. And I love that about it. I think some of the very little touches that they didn't have to put in, like something we talked about when Mario Wonder came out, is like the slight changes in Mario's facial animation when he's walking, running, and when he bursts into top speed, and he just screws his face up below when he runs.
A Goomba will react to you if it sees you come in with its face.
That is
if it sees you come in as like Elephant Mario, it's like, oh my fucking God.
That is for me fundamentally like about this game. Because if you go back and you look at new Super Mario Brothers, either of them, they're very sterile. There's not a lot of personality to them. And this is the thing. Like, you look at Mario Wonder and new Super Mario Brothers, if you look like a still image of them, you can see minor things about like the UI and the fact that Mario's like kind of like slightly facing at a different angle, which is like the first thing you immediately spot. But when you start like actually moving and you look around, it's all the small touches. It feels alive. There's so much more personality to it.
I think we've all been...
That, for me, is the biggest thing
about it. We've all been
it.
Mario Maker to death as well, right? Where we know what all the Mario assets look like. We've built stuff. We've had this like DNA of what a Mario platformer should look like. And then here's this thing that comes along and just gives everything this little flourish. These little design details that just make it feel like a living, breathing, silly platform world. Like, does it beat some of the games left.
You're just like,
it probably doesn't.
You finish there, like, that's fucking Mario.
Exactly. Because you fucking nailed it.
Again, like, you know, I keep going back to the level where you play as a Goomba, and like the animation of the cats and how big they open their mouths.
Yeah.
And like the Goombas when they like, oh fuck, what's about to happen?
Yeah.
It's all those little things, like with the King Boo when he's singing and he's like an operatic thing and that whole fucking nonsense. And it's one of those games where you play a level and you have to play it again, not because like you missed like something that you needed to collect, but because you probably missed something that like the game was showing. Yeah. You know, when you do the second level with the piranha plants, like there's a couple
Larry's
of them
favorite level.
You generally have to play it once or twice because you miss like where some of them are and what they're doing, and like they have kind of slightly different movements. It's packed with loads of little touches like that, and that's the thing about it that I think it really holds its hat to.
But that said, like, do I think it wins?
No.
It won't win.
I do. I want more games that whenever you pick something up or do something, you get a little awesome or cool.
Yeah.
You know, I want those small bits
Wonderful.
of animation. Wonderful.
Wonderful.
And I love that little plant guy. He's great.
And also, like, the best thing about it is, to me, Elephant Mario. I love that stupid fucking expression
stupid
on his
chunky
face. He's just so... I just love how, like, bulbous and, like, just, everything about his way he waddles around.
Moment of the year should have been that video Nintendo put out of Bowser like going crazy for Elephant Peach, like that marketing video. Have you seen this? Where he brings in the flower and then she takes the elephant thing and he goes,
that was it. Ride the inch pipe or something, or ride the inch
something along those lines.
We've had quite a year for suggestive, like, because did we all get our 19 inches of Venom?
I did.
You got your 19 inches of Venom?
It's in my studio back home. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh. What a game.
I can't wait for Elephant Mario into the next Mario Kart game, like a super heavyweight.
Yeah, like a Wario class, but bigger.
Okay, it's
all
me.
right, Dave.
Fuck me.
Good luck.
Right, I guess of the ones here, again, we're down to all ones I've played, which is good. It makes me a little bit more comfortable, but a little bit more hesitant to cut anything. But I look realistically at where the biggest fights are going to be, and I maybe go for Star Wars.
I think that's fair.
I think it looks really good, but I was way more I think I was way more blown away with how the first one looked, if you get me, because it was like, holy shit, that's a good looking Star Wars game. Whereas like Jedi Survivor is like, they've sharpened up everything that looked good about the last game. It didn't hit me for 6 with new levels.
It's the same issue with Tears of the Kingdom. Like, you're always going to have these issues with sequels.
Yeah.
And I think Jedi Survivor could have been a technical showpiece. Didn't fucking launch on fire, which it did. I gave the game like 4 months after release and it was still not functioning perfectly.
Is that just like performance issues?
Massive performance, stuttering in
Oh wow!
And so, its quality is really good, but the performance is not great. And I feel like
the frame rate is 1.
Not that they're the exact same, because they're not. But I feel like Star Wars and Spider-Man are kind of playing to the same strengths, but Spider-Man is a next-gen showpiece.
Spider-Man managed to do it without setting your console ablaze.
And I guess that's even more impressive with Spider-Man, because not having played the Star Wars game, but that's like you're loading into different environments, right?
Yeah.
Where, you know, New York is just New York. So the fact that game, which is still based off of the previous one, which had most of New York already in there, but does add extra bits and pieces. The way, and we've spoken about Spider-Man in just in terms of like what a technical showcase that thing is. For that game to run as quickly as it does, for that much of the world to be open is really, I don't think enough plaudits have been thrown at that thing to run as well as it does. So for the fact that like Jedi Survivor has performance issues for, you know, like small, which
I guess, you know? Like, as much as it is you're nitpicking at this point, it is an element of visual presentation.
You're having to look at that thing.
I would say
this is a great looking video game when it fucking works.
I would say that I think the fucking like the regions, like the areas they designed, like Coruscant, like the sort of midnight city feel to it. It looks and
you want to talk about the opposite of Starfield, where like every planet in Star Wars feels like a different planet. Like, and again, like the fucking game rocks. I don't want anyone to think I don't think it doesn't, and it's like it's one of my Christmas period. I'm getting back to that game and beating it.
I might do that as well,
because those games are so good. But it just like I'm looking at the other 5 that's left, and short of going back to the well.
It also designs Star Wars monsters really well, like the big frog bastards, and you know.
all of the characters, like the side characters, are designed really well. They have their own unique.
Something as simple as just
blueprint.
like the flow of your lightsaber in combat
all
is
of
just
the combat
so
effects are fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't really have as many of the performance issues as anyone else. I don't know if there's something I'd done in my menu or something.
What are you playing on?
PS5.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was on Series S.
I was on PS5.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's like a frame rate thing that I did, and I don't know. But
Wait, do you not have Game Pass?
I do have Game Pass
Because it came out free day one on Game Pass.
No, it didn't. What are you talking about? No.
I don't.
Did I buy it? Because I've played it.
You bought it.
You bought it. You must have bought it. Because there was, I think, in one of those leaked emails, there was something about they were going to pay a farcical amount of money for it.
If it was on Game Pass, I would have played
I
it.
genuinely don't remember paying for it.
Someone got some money out of you at some stage.
Then it's only the second game I've ever paid for on that Xbox. Feel privileged, Star Wars.
Yeah. I just everything does look really good, but like you say, there's a couple of things on here that the next gen feel, and they do the next gen feel slightly better. Just ever so slightly. But
this category.
It's getting tough now.
Okay, so with that said, Mark.
Here he is.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I do really like this. I think I've got at least two things on here that I'm way more into, and there's two things that I'm not going to go for yet. So I'll read the temperature of the room and see how we go for it. But maybe Hi-Fi Rush goes here?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I'm glad it made it this long, but yeah.
I'm actually surprised by this.
I think it looks cool.
It's so colourful and vibrant. It's so
Is it the
nice.
best cel-shaded game
Yeah,
ever?
maybe. Yeah.
I mean, look, what? That cell damage?
Yeah.
Like, I would watch a cartoon of this.
Oh,
the way,
for sure.
I mean,
You did when you played it. Like,
yeah.
that's what it looks like. It was that good.
And it's so many things, like the fact that like the whole world is like moving in rhythm with the song.
Yep.
That in itself is like such a just a perfect kind of visual cue for like, okay, when am I meant to be hitting on the beat?
The clicks and clacks of the factory parts in the background, conveyor belts and weird stuff happening.
It's just great level
Like if
design.
you just took a screenshot from anywhere in this game at any point, you would be able to pick out like that thing's happening over there, that's over there, this is happening with your character on the screen, and it just, aside from looking like this beautiful cell shaded insane animated thing, and it's a fucking technical marvel, this thing that they made. Because
I was really like thinking about whether I wanted to vote for Bum Rush Cyberpunk as well, because they're obviously both like
I think is it Bum Rush Cyberpunk.
They're both cell shaded
game.
games, and obviously this is a much bigger team than the Cyberpunk game. So, but like it's just it's that cell shaded thing, but it's up to the next level.
Nailed.
It's like, right, let's take this kind of thing that has been forgotten about for about 20 years, dust it off, and put it through like a prism of like 2023 game design and production. And there really isn't any issues. Like I can't come to this and say I want to pick this one because there's some part of it that I don't think works better. No, the boss designs are incredible. The level design as a whole is incredible.
The character designs,
so
like if this game was a bigger hit, which unfortunately I don't really think it was. I mean, you could totally see them merchandising like peppermint action figures, all the bosses. Oh my god,
808, like
808.
Come on now,
absolutely.
I think as well, this is another one that came out. This may have been the first big game I played.
And it was a shadow dropped. Just like here you go, Tango.
Yeah, and I remember playing it like a bunch when it came out, and then a bunch before we did one of our podcasts, and just remember thinking like, fuck me, like if this is gonna be 2023 is gonna rock so hard for
and
video games. It did. It was
like
great.
it's going off fifth. Like it's a strong
going
year.
Off fifth. It could be a top 2 in any year, I think.
Yeah.
Previous.
Yeah, it definitely would have swept up versus Overwatch and Hyper Light Drifter. And I love Hyper Light Drifter. Yeah. Okay, I'm so thankful I did the math in my head, and I won't have to cut anything again in this round. So, Jack.
Oh god, I need to go to the toilet. So, no, just kidding. Oh boy. Holy shit. Yeah, this is tough.
So we go, the 4 that are left are Alan Wake 2, Dordogne, Pizza Tower, Marvel Spider-Man 2.
Oh man.
Yeah. And
this is one of the toughest years we've had. I think.
2 real stylistic pieces, and then 2 real technical games.
Can I also say, like, we didn't throw it on, and I'm not throwing on an audible, don't worry, I'm not fucking it up. But like the fact that these 10 are so strong that Mortal Kombat 1 didn't make it.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 1 looks
incredible.
fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Like I just sit on the menus and look at the shit going on in the background in the menus. Like that's how good it is.
I don't think it certainly wouldn't win this, but I think like some of the character design of Lies of P, I think some of the environmental like areas Lies of P.
In terms of like again,
what an insane looking game! Oh my god,
just a sick fucking
two games as well that like maybe they don't win, but in terms of that whole thing we were saying earlier of like having a design doc that you're going for an aesthetic and just pulling it off to a fault, like those games absolutely deserve a mention. Here, but just to buy Jack a little bit of time there.
Buy Jack some minutes there
while he tries to sneak out, join the French Foreign Legion.
Oh god damn. Like the two things that I would potentially, I think now is probably the time to have the discussion about Pizza Tower, Mark.
I mean, it depends if you want me and Barry to 3D you through this table.
The thing about Pizza Tower is, and it's the thing about
it's nailed
what it's going for.
Yep.
And it's fucking amazing.
My thing on it is, and I won't stand in the way of it going further or going now. Like I would personally, like I'd be fine with it going now, but I'd also be, but I'm not. I'm not suggesting this the game to go now, but I just say my personal mileage for that art style as well as it's executed is very low.
I think actually
it'll come up later, but I also fundamentally don't enjoy playing it.
I think true to the source that inspired it, kind of 90s era Nickelodeon, I do actually feel that some people will just look at it and just be repulsed and just not enjoy looking at it, which
is the point.
It's the point, but also if someone says, well, I just don't like looking at it, I think that's totally fair. But I love it. I love the way it looks. I think we've talked about this, Mark, the sort of Nickelodeon style, like the title cards for each level. I howled when you start one mission and one of those pops up and the level's just called, oh shit. And it's like, it's so good. Like the war title screen. Like I would buy a little coffee table book of just those level title screens. It's Ren and Stimpy by way of MS Paint with a bit of like parallel universe Nintendo characters in there.
Every single inch of the game into visually screams with personality.
Yeah.
What I was just saying about like with Wonder, where you play a level like twice or three times because you miss stuff, it's this but like ramped up by 10, because everything on the screen is either like trying to attack you or is moving, or you've got like there's a little TV in the corner with Peppino.
Oh yeah.
And depending on what you're doing, he's either like fucking, because he's like he's just this weird anxious wreck of like a kind of Wario copycat clone who's a pizza chef, and like sometimes he's like in kind of super buff mode in that kind of like Squidward meme, or sometimes he's just like kind of cowering in his hands like Neon White's just been rejected for best music. And like on top of all of that, you've got like all of the different like each level has its own ability, so you have like the different kind of like animations that come with that. You have is it Gustav and like the rat that you play
the rat thing,
and their designs, and it's just, and I've said it before that it's just the most jankiest, intentionally jankiest looking thing I think I've ever played, and I love every single second of what this thing looks like, and it just going for a thing, sticking to it, having no kind of like concerns about like, oh, maybe this looks a little bit too rough around the edges. Full tilt.
I think to, again, like just what I'm thinking now is like, we kind of mentioned that we have two unbelievably like graphical powerhouses versus two very deliberate, narrow, stylistic, targeted strikes.
Yep.
And I think of those two attempts to capture a vibe, even though I like this art style less personally, I would have it hang longer
than Dordogne,
because I think it's a better execution, even if it's an art style I don't like as much personally.
Okay,
I would be happier to see Dordogne go than Pizza Tower, even if I don't like Pizza Tower as much.
Pizza over Dordogne.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dordogne, like,
but it's not because I like Dordogne less, because I think Dordogne. Like
to me, like I said, I could happily have Dordogne win this.
I could as well,
because of the way it looks and like and the originality of that.
Now you remember when like I played it and I spoke about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
And,
well,
like,
I was and I started looking at it at the time when you were talking about it, and I was like, does it actually like are these screenshots or does this actually?
I did appreciate the freshness of like we'd been talking about it for like you had mentioned. I can't remember how long ago you mentioned it on the podcast the first time, and I downloaded it and had it sitting there for ages. So I'd been familiar with Dordogne for ages, and then when the nominations came out, listening to Barry go, what the fuck is Dordogne?
I couldn't even read the name. I had not even heard of it, you know.
What it is a lovely little city in France.
That's what happened when I Googled it. It's like, wait, what?
It's one of those I think maybe suffered from the, like, much as we love it in terms of our value for money, when big old Philly Spence shuffles 12 games out this week on Game Pass. Yeah. It's a classic game that gets lost.
And there's heavy hitters like Lies of P on there and stuff like that.
Yeah. I feel like Jusant suffered from that as well.
Yeah. For sure. So where are we landing on this?
I think we're getting rid of Dordogne.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one that wants to keep it on the list.
Because here's the thing, we're probably going to whittle this down to like one as a technical showpiece and one as
That's what we usually end up on.
Yeah.
And I think that me and Barry are probably higher on, well, I think three of us are higher on Pizza Tower over Dordogne at this point.
Yeah.
So
we're coming down to Alan Wake, Pizza Tower, and Spider-Man.
And it's you to cut the last game.
And it's me.
I nearly erased Pizza Tower. Jesus, I was gonna get shit thrown at me.
With this.
I know, I heard there a while ago.
These are three excellent games that I played to completion and loved. So I have to put a bullet in one of them. I mean, there is no non-fight to be had here. Any three of these could win. I honestly wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will just go with what my gut is telling me. Even though I'm trying to fight it, I'm gonna just puke. Of the three of these, I would cut Spider-Man. I think, because it's funny, we've kind of been alluding to, you know, Pizza Tower as the, you know, we do Pizza Tower as the phenomenal art direction game and Alan Wake 2 as the technical showpiece. I would push back against that and say that Alan Wake and Spider-Man are both doing technical showpiece. Alan Wake also has one of the most phenomenal art directions ever.
Ever.
So I mean, I'm getting bored of cutting promos on Alan Wake at this stage. So I apologize, lads.
So
there's another
boring.
one coming for Alan Wake 2 on visuals, but I will say Spider-Man has a couple of issues which we actually all talked about, which would be the Peter Parker face. The MJ face.
The MJ face is worse.
The MJ face is pretty.
The MJ face isn't nearly as bad as the face I make having to play MJ levels.
I mean, we'll talk about that later. We'll get to that later. This is splitting hairs.
Spider-Man haters over there.
This is splitting hairs because these are Spider-Man 2 looks phenomenal. It looks absolutely phenomenal. I won't belabor the promo on Spider-Man 2 because I don't think there's that much. It's literally a case of I look at these three and that one would be my third of these three.
Yeah, the same.
The difficulty as well is I think what Alan Wake does, because so much of it is sort of condensed within the environments that you're doing, it kind of probably makes it easier for them to go, we can just be a bit more insular and like a bit more detailed. Yeah. Whereas this not only is a massive fucking city-wide game like the first one, but then they add basically the same on again. And all of the areas do feel like they have their personality and they're distinct from each other.
But I guess again, like, we're not like awarding bonus points for scale because it's an art category.
I think you could. I would acknowledge it though.
We acknowledge it.
Yeah,
but acknowledge it for sure. But I don't think it's the thing that separates.
If I could also go for and these are all nitpicks, I would also say, like, I didn't really like the fire cult enemy designs. They didn't blow me away. Yeah. I won't go back into the symbiotes, but I didn't like their designs either. Little purple venoms.
I thought the symbiote things and the nest and everything looked so cool, man.
Really? I was just like, they look like, because there's been so many other games that have done that, like Web of Shadows.
We know you're Spider-Man haters. It's all right. You can come out and say it.
It's so funny that Barry's been backed into the person who has buried Venom.
Spider-Man. Yeah. Like,
you know, there's like people who've been watching your streams that are going to be listening to this. Like, what the fuck happened? He sold us out.
Where is he? With his great power, he is having no responsibility. It's outrageous.
He's fucking dug Uncle Ben up and killed him again.
Pile drive him.
I will say this for Spider-Man as well, is that, like, and partially I think the problem here is, again, it's like, well, all of this is we've already had for 2 games now, but I still continue to be impressed by just how fluid the animation and how dynamic the animation is, because, like, you know, all of these games are based off of the Arkham combat system effectively, but you go back and play Arkham Asylum and everything is still there in terms of the nebulas, but it's obviously just way fucking slower and way less in terms of like spectacle. And Spider-Man takes that core concept. And, I remember the first time I played like the first Spider-Man and just how dynamic like the movement was going between one enemy to the other, and you'd ping pong back and forth across an environment. And it never felt that like you were cancelling an animation to start the next one. It was just one fluid motion. And I still playing Spider-Man 2 would like just going through some of those set pieces, and particularly, again, the portal section, you take, the selling point of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, make it better, and then add that Spider-Man combat system on top, and it's just like it's a real fucking piece of craft.
We said it when we were talking about Spider-Man when it came out. But like, I just get this feeling in hindsight that like Ratchet and Clank was sent out to die so they could figure out the stuff for Spider-Man to make a better game.
One of the things I like,
figure out portals, and we'll come back to you.
I don't know if you guys like played through it, but I absolutely loved all of the imagery of all of the Mysterio stuff.
Yes.
The Mysteriums, and then the final... I think
I like the imagery more than I liked playing them.
Same, yeah.
I loved it all. I
thought they were really cool.
And that final mission is great. With the snow globe? Oh my God.
The final mission is unbelievable. The final mission is unbelievable. Yeah,
it's so
like
cool.
Like you said, that game could have had a moments category all its own.
Definitely. And I just think, most of the environments for like the boss fights and the scale of it just feel really, really epic in a way. That first Sandman fight, we haven't even spoken about
that was the last thing to be cut for a moment of the year.
That was the last second one for sure, but it's great.
And when you
that's the like, is that the we're back moment of the year?
Oh yeah.
You are fucking pinging through and you just see this giant mass just getting bigger and bigger, and you're like, I have to confront this now? What the hell?
Yeah.
And it looks incredible. And the one of my favorite, like, he talks about menus and UIs and transitions. The transition from when you click the fast travel button to just immediately swinging, and then you have control again is so cool.
I did notice it's funny when I started doing fast travel more. So like to be able to talk about it to the extent I want to talk about some of my misgivings with it later, I have platinumed it now.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to make sure I played absolutely everything before I start giving out about anything. But I noticed that like I was trying to say, like, where are they cheating? Where are they trying to cut corners on this, right? And the only thing I could find is that when you hold down the fast travel button, sometimes the game moves you. Yeah, it moves the cursor to where it is a slightly more convenient load-in point.
There is a set amount of fast travel spots, but like thousands, but they are a safe collection.
It moves you to a street. So like it always like lock you unless it's like a park or something. The very slight movement is to a street, so that when you swing
a street they have pre-rendered because it will move you from one street to another sometimes.
But because so when you swing, you are swinging forward with momentum. Because if they just drop you on the top of a building and you had nothing to swing off, you would just land on top of the building.
I feel like sometimes
that would be really funny.
I feel like sometimes you because I have my favorite suit as well.
Sorry?
I feels like sometimes you come in on your wingsuit as well.
Yeah.
I do like as well.
Always in the gullies of the buildings.
One of my favorite trophies on the game is to like press the button to do a trick and then just fall and hit the ground.
And I did that without realizing it was a trophy.
Now with the flip side of all of that, MJ's face.
Peter's face.
I think MJ is worse.
Yeah, MJ is worse.
Yeah. And it's not so much that
Peter is funny.
Yeah.
Peter is funny. I think we go on about Peter because Peter's in more of the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But to me, it's not even so much the MJ cutscenes. It's like her little picture in the bottom right when she's on the phone to Peter. It looks like it's just like a rictus, horrendous Joker-esque. You remember that movie Smile that came out? That's what she kind of looks like in that.
That movie's class, by the way.
That's a great movie.
These are the very few things that I don't like about the game. But like when we're now with three games,
really trying to.
I guess we do Alan Wake and then we
have an elbow
figure out what happens after that. I guess.
I mean, you've already started, so
you got 5 minutes. Go.
Yeah, we'll keep it brief. I will say that. So obviously, like Spider-Man, it is a visual showpiece. I mean, I remember messaging you when I was early in the game, and I was like, these facial animations are fucking insane. They're opposite of MJ face. Like the first time you meet Ati from Control, and he's like this real character.
Some in storytelling we didn't even talk about is Ati. You still haven't figured out from Control. Is this like? It feels like such a weird thing to say for you guys who weren't like in Control, but Ati is like a trans-dimensional janitor.
Yeah. And his
facial animations are some of the most incredibly intricate I've ever seen, and I don't even know if that's a real person doing mocap or is it?
I think it is. Yeah. So they've got that insane, and it's so important that they nail that stuff because they are tripling down on FMV. So like your character models are seamlessly flicking back and forth with FMV. They have to look amazing, and they do look amazing. I think this is it's funny because I remember thinking about this I was looking at it going, is this Unreal 5? Apparently they make their own engine, so it's not. But it looks like one of those kind of bleeding edge, like we're on the cusp of like, this is because
they do the thing with the layering over the FMV where sometimes they layer FMV face over CG face, and it's unbelievable the
profiling you were
closeness.
Describing earlier with Saga, where she's like having telepathy. That is her character model sitting down, and there's like an FMV behind her of the character she's interacting with, and it's just so seamlessly done. Also, they do a lot of really interesting things in those segments where Alan and Saga are overlapping somewhat, that you'll be Saga running through this like flooded hallway, and they won't just put FMV over it, they will kind of put FMV on the environment, so you're seeing one of like Alan's locations, you're walking through it as Saga, but it's actually it's a very skillfully overlaid video file.
One of the things it does as well that I love, because two of my favorite games of the last like 10-15 years do it, BioShock Infinite and Control do it, where the deeper you go into the game and the more the game has its effects on you, the more the world outside your playable character starts to reflect that. Not so much in the dark place, but in the outside. Like when you go from when you start out off in the town to moving out to places like where like you talk about Ati, when you go to the little town outside the town, and you're interviewing people, and all of a sudden you haven't met Ati yet, but you come to this cafe where there's a band called Ati and the Janitors, and it's him doing like a sweet karaoke number on the stage.
Really good.
But like as you're getting through there, and then you go to the next place, the trailer park, and then you go to the next place, which is Coffee World, and you go to the next place, which is the old folks home. There's this darkening and degradation of the world that is just like it feels like you are being enveloped in this darkness as you go through it, kind of like those other games that I think is really like, it's just an unbelievable piece of art direction. Like when you get to, and then when you cycle back round to the town, they haven't done a whole lot to the town, but it feels like you're seeing it through an entirely different context because of everything you've been through when you get to that point. And that's before you even go to optional areas, which are super fucked up and cool looking, like the lighthouse, which you don't have to ever go to the lighthouse in the game. And it's only if you're really looking around, and the lighthouse is fucking class as well.
The one thing as well, this game, I think one aspect of it I think is a teensy bit underrated. It's not as good in this department as Spider-Man, but this is a fast loading game. Not quite on the level of Spider-Man's fast travel, but Alan's main mechanic in the dark place is that he's going to all these locations, and what he's doing, he in place of Saga's mind place where she does all her detective, deducing, he has a writer's room. And so his main mechanic is you go into this foyer of the cinema and you're trying to navigate through it, but there's a corridor blocked. So you go into his writer's room and you've a set of terms you can apply to locations, like missing
thematic
FBI
terms,
thematic ideas, missing FBI agent, the cult operates here,
phases in the manuscript where a scene takes place here. So you might have you might have like the first time you encounter it, the theme in the cinema is investigation, and then later on you unlock that you can now look at every room in the level under the lens of the murder ritual.
Right? And so you go into the writer's room, you enter this foyer and your package is blocked. Pop open your menu, apply murder ritual. They overlay some FMV of Alan typing, and then Spider-Man-esque 2 seconds, the entire right in front of your face, the entire layout of the level changes.
The level, the hostility.
Drenched it in blood. They've got like sacrificial things all over the place, and they've rearranged the geometry. So now, because the cult were here doing rituals, they moved shit around, so I can now go into that room and investigate this area. Then you go into that area and you learn of the concept of there's a missing FBI agent. Go back into that same room, apply that concept to the room, and again it'll that right in front of you.
Incredible mind-bending level of like design where they've essentially in Alan's every chapter they've designed pretty much every room Alan can visit about 4 times over.
Yeah.
And the only way I can think that they transition so quick is those 4 are sitting on top of each other somehow.
Something like that.
And the quick switch between them, because you also can switch between, like, you unlock up to 4 is usually the maximum. So you can switch between any 4 of them in any order. It's not like it can hide loads behind, okay, we know Barry's going to pick the murder ritual next because that's the only other option. There's like 4 options. You can go for any, and it is like a 2-second
well,
and
it's
the
just,
entire room.
It's just a scene that they just load in and out.
I think the switch in the environment is super fast. The other thing that I think is kind of under discussed in how impressive this game is that the mind place in the writer's room, those are effectively menus, but they're manifested as real places. So you press the touchpad on the PS5 and you go into your mind place, but that's a separate room. So you're just your character. You don't go into a pause menu to apply this concept. You go into a separate room where you apply a concept.
And you're moving
you go
around.
Back to the original room, and that room then also changes.
It's not like a separate room where you're standing completely still and pressing buttons to go to. Like it's a room where you are physically moving around and interacting with stuff. And then you hit circle and you're back there.
It is an insane technical beast.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then
really
you've already talked about, like, it's one of the best art directed games I've ever played.
I mean, it's and obviously, like, we've talked about how fucking scary it is. Like, you're going through an old folks home. That enemy that they debut there, man, where it's basically, instead of having legs, it's just basically it's a floating 2 upper halves of an old lady, and instead of legs, she just has a mirror image of her. She's got like 6 arms. It's absolutely terrifying.
It's like she's drowning in herself.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like, it's
insane. So yeah, look, Alan Wake is
the visual design as well. I've looked just the standard enemies that are like shifting between realities. That there's like this kind of mist around them. You know what I mean?
Which is something they really like. They just a lot of weird aura effects and control that they've brought over. To this
the
one.
hiss.
Like,
it's similar kind
to that,
but it's again better realized, I think.
And if you like Max Payne aesthetics, some of the early Alan Wake stuff where you're walking around with Sam Lake in like neon drenched shithole alleyways and it's pissing rain and it's just so
ways
great.
Those alleyways shift as well with the clicker.
Yes,
like you mentioned the clicker yesterday in the first part, where like it's another kind of tool where changing the light source in the room completely changes the pathways and what's in there.
This is why I'm making the Spider-Man comparison, because some of
that's instant.
The fast loading in this game is insane, because not only do you have he can change the concept of a room thing, there's also one of his other main puzzle mechanics. It strikes me as something that would probably do really well in a Zelda game is he can grab a light from a light bulb and put it in an empty
it's
light
the
bulb.
Dumbledore put outer. Like that's the only. That's all I can think
similar
of.
to the typing, when you move a light source from one location to the other, it also physically changes the location.
It's somehow even quicker.
And it's somehow even quicker. It is literally right with the button press. You are inverting the room or removing a wall, or it's. Like, this and Spider-Man are 2 games where I was like, I would love an extensive documentary where they sat down and just really boringly told me how they made that impossible space.
One thing I've got,
Danny O'Dwyer, are you
Danny, get on it, man.
I've got good news. If there is a game director who's willing to speak at length about his art, it's Sam Lake.
I think so, yeah. And look, and as for all the other stuff, I mean, we've talked extensively about all the talk show stuff, the musical number,
there's in the FME stuff, the set design.
The set design, which we talked about with Immortality last year, like the effort that went into that game, and then also this game with designing these sets.
Yeah, we said like doing a pitch perfect shit late night show set is like
do we look, because we're coming up to about an hour on this, do we just kind of read the room, go for a vote, see what happens, or
so Pizza Tower and Alan Wake, is that what we're doing?
I think so.
I think so, and I love them both. I mean, I think we can just, we've all said our pieces, I suppose.
And I think we're all happy with either one winning, because again but they're going for different things. Like if Alan Wake 2 is obviously my thing.
I watched like some of the Digital Foundry, and I did look at like the not the FMV stuff. Well, no, they were showing kind of like between the in-game stuff and the FMV stuff, and I was looking at it thinking like, that is about as good as I've ever seen that. Because one of my issues I certainly had, and I think a lot of people have had over the last few years, is that with the kind of AAA space, there's this kind of not quite homogenization, but it's all part of it. With some of the games is like so many games are being done in Unreal 5 now that it's all just like they all look very impressive, but they're all variations of the same theme. And I know that obviously Remedy has its own in-house engine, so it's like because I looked at it and it's like it looks a little bit like Unreal 5, but at the same time it looks so much better than even that.
The most generic game they've ever put out looks wise is Quantum Break, and that still also has so many visual quirks to it. Even if the game itself, I'm kind of very bland on.
But then just on the other flip side of it, again, with everything kind of mentioned, but just there's just something about like, because the other thing with Pizza Tower as well is that you've got, I think, like 14, 15 levels, but it's not like because you get this with a lot of platformers where it's like there's the fire level and there's the ice level and there's this. No, there's a level where you're fucking playing golf and there's a level that's based around war and you're having rockets blasting you into bits of the environment. And like Peppino's character, he's constantly fucking just doing something with his face, and like the way that depending on how you move he kind of responds to that and interacts with that, and even just like the main menu screen, he's sitting on like a counter in like this pizza bar, and like you're looking at like which kind of television screen you're going to pick for, and he's looking at each of them like absolutely terrified about, oh fuck no. The bosses are ridiculous. Like the final fight is like just a giant pizza face. Yeah. But it's like,
of course it is.
That final fight is insane.
But also, like, there's something kind of like disturbing about its design.
Absolutely,
you know?
Absolutely.
And like even like the small pizza faces, like with the big like red lips and the kind of like
he's scary.
Eyes.
He would traumatize kids.
There's some real like distressing kind of design to some of the characters in that thing as well.
I think Ren and Stimpy was a perfect.
That is
because it's right on the edge of being for kids, but also so twisted.
You can imagine in a world where this is a TV show, you can imagine parents going, "Oh God, you can't. You're not watching this. It's awful. Like, get that off. Go outside."
We're going directly back to a draw again.
Well, don't know. Like, well,
I mean, what are you feeling, Jack? Because you're not really into either of these necessarily, are you? You weren't a Pizza Tower guy.
No. I think. I think so.
Do we want to just do a vote around that and see if we're at 2-2?
Sure. Who started?
You started.
Did I start? No,
I did. You started. Oh yeah, Alan Wake.
Pizza Tower.
I mean, I got to vote for Alan Wake on this because it looks fucking incredible. Like, and of the two left, that is the one visually that I think, strikes me more. And I honestly, my top two were Spider-Man and Dordogne. I can't vote. I could pull a mark from the previous round, but if I have to choose,
vote with your heart. Vote with your heart.
Vote with your heart. Yeah. I love Pizza Tower so much. It probably would be very funny to turn heel on you. But
we've been such pals this year, Barry.
This was the one category where I was coming into it and I was thinking, even if it wins nothing else, which it's not happening so far, but I was like, Alan Wake 2 is one of the best looking games ever. So I have to go Alan Wake.
Just the first. Like, I remember Dave when he started it and he was just like, oh, I'm playing Alan Wake, I'm really liking it so far. And I remember like, I don't know if I'm going to get to this. I'm just going to put on a little bit of the game just to look at, oh my fucking God. My eyeballs were immediately like...
It was like an evening where I said to you, I've started playing it. And then I think a couple hours later, I was like, no, Jack, like, make time, play this game.
I looked at it and I was just like,
So all their little weird, all the shit Coffee World mascots are charmingly crap.
The parade float.
The parade. Oh yeah, the parade float with the fucking Ari Aster movie happening on his...
Yeah.
Remember when Barry said he wasn't going to cut any more Alan Wake promos?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And we're not done, folks.
Oh God.
Okay, so for the official record, best looking game of 2023, Alan Wake 2. And now I think it's what everybody's listening in for. It's to see what the people said. Holy shit. Right, we've got 4 significant votes here, so I'll give you top 4. So coming in 4th place, 13.3%. Hi-Fi Rush.
Yep.
Then our next two are joined at the hip, 20% each for Spider-Man 2 and Super Mario Wonder.
Wow. Wow.
Number 1 with 33.3% of the votes, Alan Wake 2. Wow, we finally nailed we finally got on board with the people.
No Pizza Tower love on the people's poll?
We had 1 vote for Pizza Tower.
Oh.
Good job, Mark. But
you guys vote in this. I never do that. Do you guys?
Yeah, we do.
I'm Jabroni Mark.
No, you and Garrett don't.
But only because I didn't know the rest of you were. I got to talk to Garrett about this.
I don't know why. Like, we only found out when Garrett said it the other week that you didn't, because I never check who does unless there's something like looks a bit off about a vote, and then I get rid of it.
Process, isn't it? Like, if you're going for a local councillor, you can vote for yourself.
I'm technically a listener, so
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.